Hey y'all, Right Lane Cowboy here with another Milepost Musing. Got something very interesting to talk about today. Well, it's interesting to me. It might not be interesting to you, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because that's what I do. I was looking at my YouTube Studio app, which keeps all the numbers and statistics about the videos and all that kind of stuff, but I'm still learning about it. A lot to learn about there. But anyway, there's one thing there, one aspect of the app that stuck out in my mind, and that's the duration of time each video is watched, which is right around 50% of the full video duration. It kind of spoke volumes to me on a phenomenon that I see happening in all of society, you know, at least in the U.S. I get to see, a lot of people over the course of a week in many different states. All across, let's see, in the last week I have seen Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, and Oregon. And I've talked to a lot of people all the way across all those miles that I've driven. So I get to see and experience mannerisms and different language skills and all that of many different people of many different ages of both genders. No politics. Okay. Anyway. What I noticed is the impatient. All of those that I just named have one common characteristics, and that's impatience. It's amazing to me how impatient people are. They're impatient for people to get a point across or to finish their sentence, whatever. And I, standing in line at the grocery store, the guy at the back with three people in front of him is losing his ever-loving mind because he's obviously got something way more important to do than what he's doing. And I try to let people do, let you do you and I do me. And that's basically a basic common rule that I have in everyday life. I'm going to try to do everything I can to not affect anybody else with whatever I do. And I'm going to not let anything that other people do affect me. Now, I drive an 18-wheeler, for God's sakes. I've had people get in front of me and slam on their brakes because they just want to be let's just call them a not nice person, right? Do I let that affect me? There are a lot of drivers out here that really get mad. There's videos of drivers on YouTube that step on the gas and run the guy over, smash right into the back of him. I'm going to do everything I can to keep that from happening, to prevent that from happening. Does that make me a coward or what? No, I think that makes me smart for not allowing other people to take residence up here, free of rent. If that happens to me, I back off 4 or 5 miles an hour, let them get down the road. They're going to cool off and realize what they did is kind of embarrassing anyway. And my day is not going to be affected one iota. I'm still going to make my on-time delivery. I'm going to get down the road, and my heart rate didn't raise, my blood pressure didn't raise. I'm still a happy guy. But the impatience, I digress. That was a big old left turn, wasn't it? But the impatience in people astounds me. And when I'm sitting around a lot of other drivers, and most of them, like 70, 80, probably 90% of them have their cell phone out and right here in their face, instead of carrying on conversations like back when Mom and Dad were driving truck, I pay attention to them. And they're scrolling. I swear their finger is gonna wear a hole in their screen. Good night. That is a bright sun, isn't it? But they keep on scrolling and they don't want to stop and listen. And most of the time, you can hear the videos that they're scrolling through, and they're not even finished. And they're really, I mean, what's a TikTok video? Maybe 15, 20 seconds? And they don't have time to watch the entire video, and they scroll. So I think that's why a lot of my videos, I think it's something like, if I remember right, 40% of the views on my videos are 50% of watch time, which means they're letting the video play for 50% of its time, halfway through it, and they get off of it and they go do something else. And again, I'm not complaining. You do you, I do me. It really and truly doesn't matter. And I really wish, because I don't want to do this video over again. And sun needs to go somewhere else for a minute, doesn't it? Oh, here we go. Turn back east, or back west. There we go, it's getting better. Anyway, yeah, I'm not complaining about it. You do you, I don't care. You want to watch them all the way through? If you want to watch them a tenth of the way through, I don't care. I'm going to keep on talking about this stuff that crosses my mind, because I need somewhere to put it, and here we go, you know. I've been told to journal it, but I'm driving an 18-wheeler. I need both of my hands on the wheel most of the time. I can't be writing, although I've seen some drivers with the pad on their knee, and they're like this, and they're driving the truck, and I'm like, you're going to end up in the ditch, you know, that's not going to be fun. So where does this happen? What is this? What causes this phenomenon? Early on, I heard a long time ago, when I was back in my 20s, I heard a psychiatrist talking about commercials and their marketing schemes, keeping each scene short, 1 to 2 seconds long, keeping it very colorful with a lot of reds and yellows in it, and fast speech. Well, go back in your time when you're, you know, those of us that are up over 50 years old, go back in your time, go back in your childhood and remember some of those commercials on Saturday morning cartoons. Very true. That's exactly what they did. Well, they've carried on that marketing all the way over and let it flow over into cartoons, and you see it on social media videos that real quick get to the point, or not, they don't even get to a point. They almost get halfway to a point and then switch to another subject or switch to another scene with a lot of flashing colors, keeping your brain in suspense on what's going to come next. And that has preconditioned everybody to be, not everybody, but most people, most society, to be an impatient, and that's why they go to scrolling to get past whatever they're looking at, in need or in search of something else that stimulates their mind more and more and more. We need to stop that. We need to get down. Good God, that guy just passed me at 102 miles an hour. He must be in a hurry. Case in point, huh? Anyway, that's not a good place to exercise that. Impatience is behind the wheel. You know, shouldn't be impatient behind the wheel. But we need to stop it. We need to stop, sit down, take a big deep breath, smell the frickin' roses, drink a cup of coffee, and have meaningful conversations. One of my favorite things to do after being out here 20 to 30 days is when I go home, when I get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee with my bride, and I try not to speak hardly at all, and I just let her talk. We'll do that on the phone. She doesn't like talking on the phone. Well, neither do I. I mean, get a little cauliflower here. Even though I have a hands-free headset, she doesn't. But I love listening to her talk. You know, and I reply very little. I just listen and take it in, soak it up like a sponge in water, you know. And I think that's what happens when I'm in a truck stop and I'm talking to other people, other drivers. You know, a lot of them want to tell these great big huge stories, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. It's one of my favorite things to do out here on the road. But a lot of them want to tell these great big elaborate stories that sometimes you better have your boots on, because it gets pretty deep. But instead of trying to wait for them to finish so I can go on and make my point, no, I forget about my point. couldn't care less about what I have to say. I want to listen to them and take in what they're saying, and maybe, you know, continue on a conversation, a meaningful, deeper conversation, and possibly learn a little something. Right on, way station closed. That's always a good thing, you know. Just got bugabooed by a way station back there. I mean, clean record. Got a level 1 inspection, so it was clean. So that's an easy $25 or $50, whatever they're paying now. But I digress. I think it's important. I think what I'm talking about here is incredibly important, and we need to start spreading this ability to have uninterrupted, meaningful conversations with people, perfect strangers or people we know in our circle of friends, or our relatives, you know, moms, dads, and all that. You guys know what relatives are. I don't have to explain that to you. I don't know why I started. And refrain from small talk. Small talk gets you nowhere, and a lot of times it'll strike up arguments, and that'll cause division. We don't need any more daggum division than we already have. So. Anyway, conduct that experiment. Turn on a cartoon at the house and start counting it, and watch your kids as they're watching it. And if you don't have kids, well, get your grandkids or go steal your neighbor's kids. I guess that's not okay. You don't want to steal neighbor's kids. That might get you in trouble. So, what I was talking about, one of my favorite things to do out here on the road is to, you know, weed out one of them storytelling truck drivers that tell all these huge, I mean, you think fishermen tell fish stories? Listen to a truck driver tell a truck driving story, man. I tell you. There's a truck driver back in Wyoming that I was talking to. By the time we were done discussing what he was talking about, he had met Clint Black. He had got a signed cowboy hat right off Clint Black's head, and this all happened out in the woods, by the way. And not only did that happen, but he also had to tell me, he dated Reba McEntire. Like, good God, dude. In order for him to have done everything he's ever said and all of his stories, this dude has got to be at least 120 years old, because you couldn't be, you know, in your middle age, in your 50s, I guess that's not middle age, a little bit, you know, upper middle age, and have done everything that he's explained. There's just not enough time. So, anyway, what I like to do is treat them like a pick your own story. Remember those storybooks we used to read at the very bottom of the page? You know, turn to page so-and-so if this happened, or turn to page so-and-so if this other thing happened. Well, that's what I do. I ask leading questions to get them to go right or left on their story. And before you know it, they're floating a Peterbilt across the pond to Europe, like C.W. McCall did, and it's great fun. It's absolutely hilarious where you can get these guys to go in their stories. It's just typical super trucker people that don't have communication skills, who have lost them if they had them in the first place, and their interpersonal communication skills are shot right to hell, and they don't know where to go or how to talk to people. That might be mean of me to do, I don't know, but it certainly is entertaining. Anyway, I got to get down this hill and get my load, get off of here so I can pay attention to this Cabbage Pass in Oregon. We love this pass. It's a fun pass to go down. There's a wide load in front of me going down. You know, not the driver, the load itself. There's plenty of wide loads in the driver's seat, but we won't talk about those guys. No fat shaming on this channel. You know, people are people, and regardless of what they look like and how they act, we we need to accept all people, all folk for who they are. So anyway, you guys have a good time out there, whatever you're doing, and I wish nothing but the best for you, and appreciate you watching. I'll talk at you later.